Tonight, as some governors announce dates to reopen their states,
by taking this measured action, we will get Georgians back to work safely.
The president tweets a plan to close the border. The latest on the coronavirus in America. Plus, getting relief money to the hardest hit. The latest on Congress's deal and what it will mean for the economy. And
whatever is in my plasma and is in my white blood cells is extremely useful.
How COVID-19 survivors are giving back by giving blood. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. A presidential tweet about immigration that critics claim is just a distraction. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup. Well, President Trump says his late-night tweet was about taking a stand on immigration to stop the spread of COVID-19. But opponents claim he's just trying to change the conversation and minimize the crisis. Here with our top story, CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy. Ben, what more are we learning about the president's tweet tonight?
Well, John, turns out President Trump says he plans to sign an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration to the U.S. He said this is a decision that in light of the attack from the invisible enemy. And he also says the goal is to save jobs.
A stunning tweet by the commander-in-chief led to this White House statement saying President Trump is committed to protecting the health and economic well-being of American citizens as we face unprecedented times. As President Trump has said, decades of record immigration have produced lower wages and higher unemployment for our citizens, especially for African American and Latino workers. At a time when Americans are looking to get back to work, action is necessary. Democrats push back, claiming the president is politicizing the pandemic. Representative Joaquin Castro called it an attempt to divert attention away from Trump's failure to stop the spread of the coronavirus and save lives. Representative Don Beyer called it xenophobic scapegoating. Trump's move comes as states begin to loosen restrictions, including South Carolina, where some retail businesses are opening today.
We still encourage people to use curbside pickup and delivery and shipping so we can all stay home and get out of this sooner. We're excited about the future.
Tennessee waiting a bit longer, announcing the vast majority will reopen May 1st. Georgia declared gyms, hair salons, and bowling alleys can reopen Friday.
By taking this measured action, we will get Georgians back to work safely.
Governor Kemp added that movie theaters and restaurants will be allowed to open Monday, but critics want to continue the lockdown, pointing to 800 deaths and 20,000 cases of coronavirus in the state.
I certainly cannot in good conscience say that I agree with his order, and I will continue to use my voice as mayor of Atlanta to ask people to continue to stay home, follow the science, and exercise common sense.
California is not seeing the downward trend needed to reopen.
Deaths continue to rise, hospitalization numbers modestly continue to rise, and ICU numbers beginning to flatten.
Now, New York City has canceled all non-essential events until June. They are the hardest hit spot in the country. But a bit of good news to report there. The number of cases is going down, but it does remain around 1,000 new cases each and every day. John?
CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy. Thanks, Ben. Well, joining me now is Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, the president's tweet shifts the focus back on immigration. To the critics' claim, how much of this is about strategy and the desire to change the conversation with an eye on the November elections?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that talk today, John. Look, let's do the presidential disclaimer off the top. Not the Trump disclaimer, but the overall presidential disclaimer. Every president measures politics to some degree or another when they're making decisions. And this one, clearly no different. Look, I've known Donald Trump a long time. You know exactly what's going on here. His advisors presented him with a bunch of options of what he could do. And Title 42 of the U.S. Code says the president can restrict all immigration into the country if indeed there's a public health crisis. And you know, and I don't want to act it out here, but you could see him kind of going, yeah, that'll work. But beyond that, 22 million Americans out of work. And he knows that this would be a good opportunity to actually do that, because Why have foreign workers come in and take American jobs? He can talk about that and a lot more, too.
David, the White House hasn't offered much clarity here. Does that potentially create a perception of chaos unfolding between the White House, Congress, and the courts with the expected legal battle, even now as the country already faces chaos over the ongoing health crisis?
I got to tell you, John, talk about chaos. Sure, there's chaos. Guess where there's chaos? Right now at the Justice Department, as they try to figure out exactly what they're going to do now that Donald Trump has tweeted out, if you will, some sort of executive order. Now they've got to dot the I's and cross the T's. And so clearly there's some concern there. But look, going forward, the bottom line here is much of this immigration coming into the United States has been restricted already. The State Department putting a hold on most visas. So what we're talking about is just further I shouldn't say just, but further restrictions on some of those H-2B visas that we've heard so much about, foreign workers coming to take seasonal jobs here in America. I think that's what you're going to see, and a few other things as well.
All right, CBN Chief Political Analyst David Brody, thanks so much for your insights.
Thanks, John.
Well, turning to Capitol Hill, lawmakers have reached a deal for much-needed financial relief, going to small businesses hurt by the outbreak. We now go to CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson. Abigail, do we know what's included in the plan tonight?
Well, so far what we've seen is this bill calls for $484 billion in additional funds to programs like that popular Paycheck Protection Program. Right now, there's $311 billion set aside that PPP program, which ran out of money a week ago. There's an additional $60 billion in emergency disaster funds for small businesses, $75 billion going towards additional aid for hospitals, and $25 billion going for nationwide testing. Now, this agreement did not come easy. It's the result of about 2 weeks of negotiations between Republicans and Democrats and the White House, and many lawmakers were very relieved when Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said this earlier today.
We came to an agreement on just about every issue. Staff was up all night writing. There are still a few more I's to dot and T's to cross, but we have a deal.
Now, the House is expected to vote on this on Thursday, where it's expected to pass.
Abigail, speaking of voting, Capitol Hill is pretty much on lockdown. How are lawmakers going to vote this time around?
Well, for this Thursday, House members who are not in quarantine because of any known exposure or are not in that high-risk category or taking care of people who are in that high-risk category have been asked to come back for this vote. So they believe they will have a quorum for a roll call vote on this aid package, and they will be here in D.C. But Majority Leader Steny Hoyer has also told lawmakers to prepare for a second vote, and this vote would be on changing the rules to allow in the future for House members to vote by proxy, so that going forward, they would not have to ask a lot of these lawmakers to get on planes and travel back to D.C. during times when most states are under stay-at-home orders and the CDC is recommending everyone stay at home. So we're expecting a vote on that, but watch out for this vote because it's not clear right now if it has the support to pass. A lot of Republicans have expressed concern that they haven't seen whatever this rule change might be, and they don't know what it would look like. So they're asking Democrats to share that with them. And some Republicans have also said if hospital workers, doctors, nurses are essential and expected to be going into work, they believe that they should be going in as well. But there's obviously a lot of health concerns with that. With over 400 House members, it's hard to in the Capitol to really put in place those social distancing rules, guidelines, especially in these committee hearings. So we'll see if that passes. But Speaker Pelosi and Democrats are hopeful that they can put through some kind of bill that would make a temporary rule change during this pandemic to not have to call members back in the future.
CBN's Abigail Robertson. Thank you so much, Abigail. Well, joining me now is Dr. Stephen Skanky. He's the Chief Economic Advisor at Kill Point and an International Affairs and Economics Professor at George Washington University. Dr. Skanky, thanks for joining me. This new deal between House Democrats and the White House provides, as Abigail just reported, more than $480 billion in aid for small businesses. Can you talk to how necessary and timely this is?
Well, it's very important, and it is timely that they're getting it passed this week. It would have been better if they passed it a week or more ago, as we saw the Paycheck Protection Program maxed out with the funds that were available for it in the first round. The idea of that program, and really the whole first CARES Act stimulus program, was to provide protection for the employee-employer relationship. So when the economy is ready to reopen, that those relationships will still be in place and people can get back to work quickly. I think they were surprised at the success of it and how quickly people applied. So it needed to be addressed right away. Fortunately, they're getting it done this week, and the system set up for administering that has had some time to catch up. And so they should be good to go as soon as it gets signed into law.
Dr. Skanky, there's still a lot of businesses that are shuttered. A lot of businesses, of course, have shed employees. How likely is it that we'll see more bankruptcies, more business failures, and more job losses?
That certainly is inevitable as time goes on and people are not able to operate their businesses. Some of them won't apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. Some might not qualify. Some have already shut their doors, not knowing what help might be available. There is an effort in this new program, the one that we hope will be passed today and Thursday, and then signed by the president, to reach out to mom and pop businesses and businesses in underserved areas to help them as well. But in the meantime, a lot of those businesses and others are turning off the lights and shutting their doors and won't be able to open when it's safe for people to go back to work and back to their businesses.
Dr. Skanky, we just have about a minute left. As someone who's served 4 presidents on the National Security Council, I'd love to get your take on the growing drive to restart the economy. What should that look like?
The White House has set out guidelines that are pretty helpful. They also mirror things that the FDA, former FDA commissioner, had put out too. What's important is that people feel safe and confident. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what you do to reopen the economy. People aren't going to want to go back to work, and they're certainly not going to go back out to the service businesses that need them desperately. So it's critical to have testing, therapeutics when they're available, and personal protective equipment that makes both employees and customers feel safe.
All right, Dr. Stephen Skanky, thank you so much for your time and insights.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, what's included in that last-minute power-sharing deal in Israel, and what it means for the Middle East, when we return.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
It's what starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. More details tonight about the newly inked unity government in Israel between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and rival Benny Gantz. For example, it allows Netanyahu to proceed with President Trump's peace plan. For Israeli voters, though, it means they avoid an unprecedented fourth round of elections. The deal lets Netanyahu continue as prime minister for the next 18 months, with Gantz as the deputy prime minister. In October of 2021, the two swap roles. Well, unlike here in the United States, Christians and other people of faith are imprisoned in countries around the world simply for following their conscience. Iran is one of them, particularly notorious for locking up non-Muslims. Jennifer Wishon has this story about an Iranian prisoner of conscience set free after almost 18 years behind bars.
That's right. We're talking about Mohammed Ali Tahiri. He was adopted by the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom as part of its Prisoners of Conscience project. I'm joined by Commission Vice Chair Gail Manchin to explain. You know, Gail, you and I talked several years ago about Mr. Tahiri's case. At that point, it seemed very grim. He was actually sentenced to death twice, but now he's free. Tell us what happened.
Well, I am so thrilled to be back and be able to talk about this uplifting ending to this story. Mr. Tahiri was granted asylum in Canada, March the 8th, and actually is there with his family. And so that is the wonderful ending. But yes, he was arrested in 2011. He was sentenced to die both in 2017 and 2019. Even though the Iranian Supreme Court had overturned both of his convictions. So this was a very sad. Then in April 2019, he was released, but on house arrest with total government surveillance. And sometimes that can almost be a more scary situation than prison itself. So the fact that he was able to come out and gain asylum in Canada is a wonderful thing. But on the other flip side of that coin, there are still many of his faith community in Iran that are still in prison. And there are several that have been vetted and actually would be allowed to leave and come to this country. And so I encourage the White House, if we truly believe in religious freedom, then we need to be bringing these individuals that have been vetted and given permission to leave to be brought out safely.
Well, you and your fellow other 8 commissioners adopt prisoners of conscience as part of this program. Mr. Tahiri was one of your prisoners of conscience. Tell us about this program. What is the goal here?
You know, one of the sad things, Jennifer, that we have found in being able to speak with some of these prisoners is that once they are imprisoned, they have this sense of hopelessness, like they will have been forgotten, that no one will know or remember that they are in prison. And so with our Prisoners of Conscience project, we give that voice and face, we give the story, we keep that victim alive in our country and across the globe in hopes that we can reunite them with their family and bring to light globally the injustice that are coming to so many people across the world for no other reason than their wish to observe their religious faith.
When another country sees that people in the top levels of the United States government are paying attention to these prisoners, what kind of pressure does that put on them?
We have found that countries really care what the United States thinks about them. And so the fact that we are showcasing people that they have imprisoned or detained or harassed mistreated in some way simply because of their faith is a wake-up call.
Commission Vice Chair Gail Manchin, thank you so much for joining us.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Well, when it comes to the coverage of the coronavirus, so much of the focus is on the number of people who've died. Still, there's another important number, and that's the nearly 70,000 Americans who fully recovered from COVID-19, now equipped with a special ability to help others fighting the virus. Lori Johnson explains why so many are lining up to donate their blood.
Many people who have recovered from COVID-19 feel as if they have a new lease on life and are giving that gift to others.
The gift? Their blood, potentially loaded with antibodies specifically designed to destroy the COVID-19 virus.
You know, we have an immune system that was able to fight this off on our own, and that's really, really powerful.
Washington State resident Elizabeth Schneider tested positive for COVID-19 back in February. Her body produced antibodies that got rid of the virus and still remain in her system.
Whatever is in my plasma and is in my white blood cells is extremely useful, both for research but also as a therapy for other people.
That's why she's one of thousands of recovered coronavirus patients donating blood.
Each donation that goes for direct transfusion can probably treat 3 or 4 people. The protocol from the NIH allows us to collect our COVID recovered donors once a week for up to 20 weeks.
In Fort Worth, Texas, lung specialist Dr. John Berg gave a convalescent plasma infusion to his patient whose immune system had not likely produced enough antibodies to deal with the virus.
Patients in need who might be on a ventilator or about to be on a ventilator might be the best candidates to get a little boost in immunity.
Although Chinese doctors report 15 patients who received convalescent plasma were cured, here in America, studies are still underway. Meanwhile, doctors can treat patients on a compassionate use basis.
It could make a world of difference. It could be substantially different. The truth is, we don't yet know. It is an unproven experimental treatment.
In Columbus, Ohio, emergency room Dr. Howard Werman recovered from the virus and donated his blood, which has been given to critically ill patients there. University of Chicago doctors are also testing convalescent plasma on their patients.
They get a transfusion, a single transfusion of the plasma, and then we measure what happens.
They say ideally donors should wait a month after getting better.
The amount of antibody that's against the virus will have peaked at 28 days.
While doctors can't say for sure whether convalescent plasma works on COVID-19 patients, similar treatments proved successful against the Spanish flu and other coronaviruses like SARS and MERS.
If you were diagnosed with COVID-19, have fully recovered, and would like to help, contact your nearest blood bank, such as the Red Cross. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Coming up, 31 words helping kids and families in one neighborhood come together to form a new routine.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Finally tonight, one Ohio neighborhood is coming together to create a sense of routine for school kids forced to stay home during the outbreak. Every morning, families in Kettering, Ohio, just outside of Dayton, step out to the end of their driveways to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I think it brings the neighborhood together when we're supposed to be apart. Brings us together safely from a distance, but it just kind of promotes, unity. And for the kids, I think it's good to have some sort of structure to their day and normalcy.
That structure kicks off each school day for the neighborhood kids. After they meet for the pledge, they all go back to their homes to complete their schoolworks, and that is one great way to start the day. Well, thanks for watching Faith Nation tonight. We hope you have a great evening and hope to see you again tomorrow.